Joining us live from Virginia Beach is Scott Taylor. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, John. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Okay, always a pleasure to have you on, Scott. And you're in a tough race against Gary Byler, and we're going to be talking about that. But I want to get right to this mess.
Sure.
Much of the story remains murky, but it seems to me that no one has clean hands in this. But if you could share with our audience exactly what went down with these Facebook exchanges and the allegations that somehow you were engaged in illicit activity.
Sure. Well, we have clean hands for certain. Our internal polls, let me first digress for a second. Our internal polls have shown us leading the race the whole time. And like you said, I've been in a losing campaign before, so I know what that feels like.
Right.
This one's a little bit different. Our internal polls, our phone banks, our walks, our support is very, very high. And basically on Easter weekend, we got a call from the Virginia Beach chairman, and he said, "Hey, listen, I got this stuff. You got to check it out. It's accusing you of some stuff." And we went and looked at it, and you could tell by the naked eye it was forged. And basically, there were Facebook interactions between myself and some supposed girl. And so basically, that was on Easter weekend while I'm having dinner with my family and friends, and then we pursued it, of course, to look into it to see who it was and to show that it was, of course, fabrications. And like I said, you could see by the naked eye that there were forgery. The coding didn't line up and stuff like that. But then I had a former SEAL teammate who does forensics do a professional forensic analysis on that, of course, to show the documents were also forgeries, but also to try to figure out where they came from.
Right.
I let Gary Byler know on Tuesday, April 2nd, which we had a forum, and after that forum, I let him know. I said, "Hey, listen, this is coming from your campaign manager and consultant. At that point, we had witnesses. It's coming from there. It's fabricated. It's false. It's disgusting. It's it accuses me of doing illegal things. So it could potentially be a crime in itself." So he just denied it. Said his campaign had absolutely nothing to do with it. And at the very same time he was denying it, there was a meeting, because this was after the forum. There was a meeting at his campaign office with his campaign consultant, with his campaign manager, and them trying to push this information out to a couple of blogs, to get them to publish it. Now, of course, they called me, and we're like, "No, this is not true." And he said, "All right, well, can we see your Facebook archives?"
Right.
Which shows if there were any, in fact, these conversations. And I said, "Sure, of course." So he came over, looked at them, saw that it was in fact false, and then started doing their own investigative journalism against the Byler campaign, because, of course, they had all the interactions from the Byler campaign trying to get this information out from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then so did the pilot, Virginian pilot, also got a call from the Byler campaign and got passed this information. And this is the important thing. The screenshots, there were 3 screenshots of Facebook conversations that were manufactured or fabricated that came from the Byler campaign's consultant that was sent out to numerous news sources. Now, our forensic analysis showed that those screenshots were fabricated 9 minutes prior to them being sent out. Now, the guy who sent them out is the Byler campaign's consultant, and Gary Byler said it is also his graphic designer. So let's get this straight. His internet graphic designer and consultant sends fabricated documents out that were manufactured 9 minutes prior to them going out. Well, he clearly manufactured them himself. And if not, then he could certainly show where they came from. But the Byler campaign has not done that. And this boils down to leadership. My opponent was made aware of this stuff almost a month ago. All they did was make counter accusations and didn't do anything about it at all. And I'm in charge of my campaign, right? So
Right.
I'm responsible for it. I should be held accountable for it. And John, if you were my campaign manager and you were sending this stuff out, I'd fire you. I'd be like, "I love you, man, but you're fired." And that never happened. In fact, the opposite happened. They continue to try to exploit it. We contacted the authorities, who are also looking into it to see if there's a crime that was committed. And in the meantime, the bloggers have been more diligent and have talked to the supposed woman, have talked to who is connected, by the way, to a guy on was he on trial for felony embezzlement in Hampton, who's connected to the Byler campaign. It's disgusting, and this sort of thing has no place anywhere in politics, whether it's locally, Virginian, or American. And we're going to pursue it because it's just a matter of principle. This is, again, these things are fabricated. It's not just negative; it's nasty negative. And there's just no place for it. And we're calling on Byler to step down because it's an embarrassment to our party.
So, Scott, who is the campaign consultant for Byler's campaign, for Gary Byler's campaign? By the way, Gary Byler, the chairman of the 2nd Congressional District for the GOP. He's also an attorney in Virginia Beach. What is the name of the consultant that you're alleging fabricated this information?
His name is Jerry Simlica.
Jerry Simlica.
What we can prove without a shadow of a doubt is that he was the one that was shopping this stuff around, even though the Byler campaign denies it. There are emails to prove otherwise, and we have those. What
evidence do you have, Scott, does your campaign have to trace the so-called Facebook fabrications back to Jerry Simlica? What evidence do you have for that?
The evidence is we have emails from Mr. Simlica sending out to the press sources. We have complete professional forensic data showing that those documents were created 9 minutes prior to Mr. Simlica sending those out. Mr. Simlica, by Mr. Byler, is his graphic designer. Creating internet documents. That's what the graphic designer does. So the likelihood of him designing them is obviously very, very good. And if, in fact, it's not, simply ask Mr. Simlica, okay, well, show us the email that gave you those electronic documents 9 minutes prior to you sending them out. And I would be willing to bet a lot of money that he can't produce those.
Okay, Scott, so let me get this straight. The emails that got sent out to media and bloggers trying to get the story pushed out, you're saying that the so-called falsified Facebook document that you're claiming is not true because you've got the archives to back it up, right?
Sure.
Are you claiming that?
Well, not only do I have that, so I would take out the word or the two words "so-called." They're absolutely a forgery, and nobody, even in the Byler campaign, is now saying that they are in fact true. Neither is the woman who is supposedly involved, and obviously nobody from my side. But yes, we have Facebook archives that come directly from Facebook, so you can't doctor them. They come in Facebook via a link that prove that these conversations are false. But on top of that, we have a complete professional forensic analysis that shows anyone that wants to look how it's falsified, how they created it. And listen to this. Listen to how dumb they are. On the screenshot itself, at the top of their window near their browser where it shows what programs they had open,
right,
these idiots had a Adobe software opened up, a Photoshop program up. So in the screenshots themselves, these idiots actually left up the programs that they used to doctor them in the screenshots.
Okay.
Quite frankly, the professional forensics guy was offended. He was offended it was so bad.
So it was that bad. So there's no question now that this the Facebook correspondence between you and this woman from Newport.
There's no question that it's completely false.
No question.
She or me have never seen each other, never met each other, never talked to each other. Period.
So they fabricated that, and then 9 minutes before they pushed it out is when you're saying. Your evidence shows that Jerry Simlica, the consultant and the creative designer for Byler, that's when he got the info, when he started pushing it out to media. And what you're saying is this was after you talked to the Byler campaign and told them that these things were nonsense.
Oh, they were trying to push this out as late as this past week, trying to get these blogs to print it. There's a blog. It's called VirginiaNewsSource.com. VirginiaNewsSource.com. This was the original blog they were trying to push it out to. If you go to their website right now, they have the story where they have all the interaction with the Byler campaign because I think they were upset because they were trying to be played by the Byler campaign. Right. And then they actually talked to the girl and they talked to this gentleman, Kyle P. Adams, who's on trial right now in Hampton, who's connected with the Byler campaign, who admits to giving the Byler campaign this information and admits to having a relationship with this female. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely disgusting. So like I said, I'm very upset. My family's very upset, and we're going to take any legal action that's available to us.
And that's certainly sounds reasonable. So if I could sum this up, there's absolutely no question that this dialogue on Facebook between yourself and this woman was completely made up, completely fabricated. Now the issue becomes who actually did that, because it seems like we don't have solid evidence that it was created by Byler, but you do have evidence that it was sent out by the Byler people.
We have solid evidence that it was sent out by the Byler people. We have solid evidence. And when you, like I said, you can go to this blog and see the conversation that an associate with the Byler campaign, who has been tied with Gary Byler for years, on resumes, on boards, on all that stuff like that, was the one who actually had a relationship with this female, and was inside of her email accounts and her Facebook accounts. And without her knowledge, altered this document is sent out. Without her knowledge, we're sending out messages, and they use that to doctor documents. And try to, like I said, try to smear me, basically. And that's a fact. And he's admitted it. He's on go to VirginiaNewsSource.com and you'll see the conversations. And there's more coming out. I think BearingDrift.com is also going to do a story today on.
Well, I just saw that up from Sean. But are you willing to say, Scott, on the air right now, that in your judgment, this whole thing was manufactured by the Gary Byler campaign?
In my judgment, my logical conclusions lead me to believe that, absolutely.
Now, have you picked up the phone and talked to Gary Byler and asked him point blank what the deal is?
I did that on April 2nd.
What did he say?
So that long ago when I confronted Mr. Byler and said, listen, you're the leader of your campaign. You're the one who's held accountable. You know that this stuff is false. You know that this stuff is being sent out by your campaign. What have you done?
What did he say?
And he just tried to reverse it, just denied everything, denied any involvement from his campaign, and just made counter accusations.
Okay, so he denied any involvement.
John, it's very important to note, they sent out an email on Friday. The Byler campaign sent out an email on Friday. This past Friday, after all this stuff has been proved to be false, and they've known about it for that long, they've sent out an email on Friday and said that they got it originally from the girl, which is completely false, because they got it from Kyle P. Adams, and he admits that on that blog. Kyle P. Adams is the one who had the relationship with the girl in the first place. So, and then they in that same email, they still just continue to trash my character instead of it. When there's evidence that shows that their campaign sent this out to the news. The pilot wrote the story about it, and the Virginia pilot wrote the story and actually said, we got this from a paid Byler staffer. And even in that story, Mr. Byler is quoted as saying, we weren't shopping this around, even though the evidence proves otherwise. It's irresponsible, and this campaign should be held to account.
On the phone with them, did Gary Byler tell you the truth, or did he lie?
On April 2nd, Gary Byler denied any involvement in it. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he had no idea about it. Nothing. On April 2nd, because it all came out on Easter weekend, let's say he knew nothing about it, because I can't prove that he 100% knew about it at that date. At that date, he certainly knew about it, and certainly knew that it was his campaign, because I told him was sending it out. And at that point, we had witnesses, and then we had email interactions. So, what would you if it was my campaign, and the other opponent called me and said that to me, I would say, I will look into it, and I'll find out and get to the bottom of it, too, because this is disgusting. And then I would sit my campaign down the next day, and I would ask about what's our involvement, and I would find answers. And then what I would do is fire the people. Even if it was my sister, I would fire her for doing that thing, because it's irresponsible. The stuff is illegal. So I would 100% take care of it, because that's what leadership is, and that's what you do. That was not done. In fact, the opposite was done. It was still pushed out from his campaign to try to be exploited, to try to coerce him to get out of the race. So I can't say without a shadow of doubt that Gary Byler knew about it on April 2nd before that. But the night of April 2nd, absolutely. He 100% knew about it and did nothing.
With Scott Taylor, he's a candidate for the GOP nomination for the 85th District for the House of Delegates. Scott, do you feel that if Gary Byler told you the truth on April 2nd when you had the dialogue, that he had no knowledge of it, in your conversation, did you get the impression that if Gary Byler were to be made aware of this, that he would call you up, or there'd be some dialogue before his campaign sent it out?
See, I knew for a fact that he knew on April 2nd, right? But I also know that the chairman of the Virginia Beach Republican Party was calling him that weekend to make sure that it was his campaign. that
Right.
gave this to the Virginia Beach chairman. So, like I said, can I prove this without a shadow of a doubt? No. But I certainly think logically that the candidate of a campaign knew that his campaign was giving this information to the Virginia Beach chairman. Does that make sense? On the
Yes.
weekend, on the that weekend. So logically, he knew about it before my conversation April 2nd. 100% proof? I don't know, but I mean, I certainly would want to know if my campaign was giving stuff to the chairman. So he knew about it and didn't do anything about it.
Scott, I've only got about one minute. Final question: if you had something to say to Gary Byler right now, what is it?
I think that they need to come clean. I think they need to come clean. I think that to not further embarrass our party in Virginia, which is going to hurt us in the general election, of course. I think that it's past point now to have fired your people. That should have happened a month ago. And we are calling on Mr. Byler to step down from this race, to not further damage our party in this area.
If our listeners across the state, if they want to get involved or get more information, donate to your campaign, where do they go? What do they do?
Yes, sir. My website is scotttaylorva.com. scotttaylorva.com. We'd love to have you. Listen, I've served my country honorably in the jungles of Colombia and the deserts of Yemen and Iraq, and I want to continue to do so. And we would love any support out there that is willing to help us out.
All right, Scott Taylor, we appreciate your time, and we will definitely have you back on. This thing is an absolute mess, and just awful to have to deal with it, especially when lies are involved. This is